Very possibly the most disturbing story you've ever heard in your life occurs in Spain, and it's coming probably to a city near you. Then, the liberal media team up with Oxford University to try to get you to do weird sex stuff. And, finally, speaking of, the Olympics has officially banned trans athletes from female sports, coincidentally, 3 years, almost to the day, after my CPAC speech calling for the eradication of transgenderism. I think we did it. I'm Michael Knowles. This is the Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. I leave town. You know, I had a great speech last night. Wonderful time in Grove City College. I'm not saying the speech was great. I mean, I think the audience enjoyed it. But I mean, the whole event was great to be at one of the few true conservative colleges in the country. Then this morning, heading to CPAC to give, I don't know, who should we eradicate this year? Who knows? I don't know. Hey, what headlines can we get in Rolling Stone this year? But back in Nashville, back in my town, even the hockey team is going gay. The Nashville Predators, the hockey team, they're going gay 3 months before Pride. They had a Pride night in March. It's now Pride quarter of the year. We'll get to all of that. Anyway, first I want to tell you about Cow Guys. Go to cowguys.com. I love Cow Guys. So for me, for a very long time, I didn't pay attention to my skin, even the only thing I would use is underarm. And what would I use? The most toxic, chemically poisonous nonsense. And Elisa would get on me about it. She'd say, Mac, stop doing that. You got to use beef tallow on you. I said, whatever. I'm not putting beef tallow. What are you talking about? That's not going to work. It's going to be, I tried it and it really worked. So she's a very discerning woman. I had her try Cow Guys. Right when Cow Guys came out, I said, you got to try Cow Guys. Let me know if this, I don't know if it's going to be as good as my other time. She goes, Cow Guys is great. And that is a real endorsement. That is one, she knows what she's talking about. Me, what do I know? But she knows what she's talking about. You can get their balm. You can get the organic compounds that are bioidentical to your skin barrier. You can get Cow Guys, which is rancher owned, has no synthetics, lotion for hands, arms, legs, face. Go check it out right now. You can get 3 to 4 months of moisturizer for $34. Cowguys.com. Grab free tallow balm with your order. I don't know exactly how to sugarcoat this. This is the most disturbing story that maybe you've ever heard in your whole life. I'll try to speak about it in ways that it won't be too graphic. This is a family show, but I'll tell you what happened. And then we'll talk about what it means, because there's massive political import here. The story is this woman, Noelia Castillo. She was 25 years old, and she was killed yesterday. She was killed sort of by herself, sort of by the state. She had what they call euthanasia, which means good death. That's an ironic Orwellian term because it actually refers to the very worst kind of death, which is a suicide. A suicide made all the more scandalous because it is a suicide sanctioned and actually encouraged by the state. She killed herself with the blessing and encouragement of her government, which is supposed to be looking out for her common good, after she was left reportedly partially paralyzed after a previous suicide attempt. She tried to jump out of a window. It's unclear exactly how paralyzed she was. Some outlets were reporting that she was paraplegic, but then I think she countered that and said, no, I put on my makeup, I take myself to the bathroom, but I just want to kill myself. She previously had attempted suicide because, and this is where it gets really, really dark. You thought it was dark already. So this gal was taken out of her parents' home. Her parents got divorced. I guess they fell on hard times. They got divorced. She was taken out of her parents' home and placed in a state institution. When she was in the state institution, 3 illegal migrants, I don't know if it was 3. I know it was multiple. So the reporting's a little nebulous on here. It might be 3, it might be more. It was definitely multiple illegal migrants assaulted her. And this obviously traumatized her, and no one took care of her. This is the consistent story of this girl's life. No one seems to have taken care of her at any turn. And inasmuch as her family wanted to take care of her, the government wouldn't let her family take care of her. And then the government put her into a place where she was being victimized, and then the government didn't take care of her. And then she was so traumatized she tried to kill herself. When she was able to survive happily, she goes to the government, and the government says, "Oh, do you want us to help you kill yourself? We can kill yourself for you." And she said yes. Then her father said, "No, please don't kill my daughter. I don't want you to kill my daughter." And they were locked in some court battle. And then the government said, "Nope, never mind." According to some of the reporting, the family, the friends were not allowed to even get in there in the last days. Again, I keep saying some reporting because it's very unclear and there are conflicting reports. But there was one report that said that the girl seemed to express doubts in the final days, but did it anyway. And one thing that is clear from everyone, every single person who has ever survived a suicide attempt, they all regret it. They all regret it. 100% of them. If they are able to have any conscious thought at all between pulling the trigger, jumping off the ledge, whatever it is, and oblivion, or worse than oblivion, they regret it. So regardless, she killed herself. Here are her words. "I have no desire to do anything, not to go out, not to eat, not to do anything at all. Sleeping is very difficult for me. Furthermore, I suffer from back pain as well as leg pain." So right off the bat, this is a girl who is depressed. If she is going to the government for her medical care, if she's going to the government for psychiatric treatment, you would expect the government to try to help her. But instead what the government did is kill her. It's the opposite of the Hippocratic Oath. "I have always felt alone," she said, "because I've never felt understood. No one has ever empathized with me, and I've always struggled with interpersonal relationships." Your heart just breaks reading every word of this. "Even before requesting euthanasia, I viewed my world as very dark. I saw a very dark ending ahead of me. I had no goals, no objectives, nothing at all. And I still have no goals, no objectives." And she killed herself. Sorry, I keep saying she killed herself. She sort of killed herself, and the state encouraged her to do it and then helped her do it, and the state murdered her. She killed herself, but also the state murdered her. And I'm beginning to think that we're the baddies. You know that old sketch, "Are we the baddies?" It's the Nazis talking about, we might be the baddies. I don't know, we're the goodies, we're the baddies. I'm starting to think we're the baddies. We're not the only baddies. It's not like China or Russia or Iran are better. Anyway, they're much worse in like most ways. But I'm starting to think we might be the baddies. Just use the comparison to a communist country like China or Russia in the Soviet Union. This is bad in a different way than that was bad. This extreme of liberalism is bad in a different way that the extreme of communism is bad. But weirdly, they both end up the same way, with the state killing innocent citizens. They're bad in different ways, though. In communism, during the purges, Lenin would just go in, starting with Lenin and then obviously accelerating with Stalin, would just go in and just kill people, kill political enemies, kill dissidents, kill classes of people that he didn't want around anymore because they were a political impediment to him. Just go in, kill them, sometimes torture them, get rid of them. That's really bad, the degradation of human life under communism, because all the human beings were just considered to be cogs in a machine, and all that mattered was the state and the science of history, and the individuals and the souls didn't matter at all. They were denied most of the time. That's bad. But liberalism is what led to this. Spain's not a communist country. The communists tried to take over Spain, and then Francisco Franco beat them out, and then now they're pretty left-wing, but they're not communists. They're liberals. We have assisted suicide, euthanasia, state-sanctioned murder and suicide combined. We have that in America. We have that in multiple states. We see that all over Europe, the Netherlands. We see that in Canada, America's evil top hat. There's something here The killer is in the house. And that's liberalism. And how is liberalism bad? Liberalism says that all of life is only about you. Liberalism has this false premise that we own ourselves. You don't own yourself. It has this false idea that you create yourself. You're a self-actualizing being. You're not. You're not. You didn't choose to come into this world. You're not supposed to choose how to go out of this world. And many things are beyond your control. You have free will, but you have to cooperate with reality and with God's grace. And yet liberalism denies all of that. And liberalism also breaks down human solidarity to the point that, the ancient distinction between good government and bad government was that good government was for the common good, bad government was for private interest. Now, both parties, in many ways, deny that there's such a thing as the common good. So the state goes in and says, you know what? You're depressed and it's going to be expensive to treat you. And we don't want to go arrest the migrants who raped you. The migrants are they're under enough scrutiny as it is. And actually, we have some people who need some organs anyway. So, can we kill you? How's Tuesday look? Because I got a tea time and I'm busy. Can we just kill you? If you're old, if you're sick, if you're poor, if you're depressed, in this case, if you have organs, because I left out maybe the most gruesome part. According to some reporting, she was an organ donor. So according to some, again, I don't know, there will be conflicting news. Today it was unclear for hours whether or not she was even killed or not, or if her execution/suicide had been put off. But it might well be the case that her life ended because her government took her away from her family, refused to protect her from foreign criminals, then killed her and harvested her organs. I told you that was going to be a really dark story. Didn't I tell you that? I did. Don't let it come to a country near you. Don't let it come to a city near you. This is coming here fast. Don't let that happen. Okay, now, speaking of really weird stuff being pushed by the media and the scientists and all these sorts of unethical people, this one a little less gruesome, but pretty freaky. Oxford University is teaming up with the establishment media to try to get you to do really creepy sex stuff. We will get to that momentarily. First, though, I want to tell you about Helix Sleep. Go to helixsleep.com/Knowles. Most people in this country are exhausted, like me, when I have to travel all across the country day after day after day. But one thing I really look forward to is I can look forward to going back home, to my beautiful home, filled to the brim with Helix mattresses. Not just for the adults. Helix in my home for my children. That's right. I'm such a good father that I've gotten, and obviously they're different mattresses, because when you get your Helix, you are not getting one-size-fits-all mattress. You're taking their sleep quiz. They will match you with a mattress that is perfect for your sleep style, for your preferences, keeps you cool when you want to be cool. You can notice a big difference in your deep sleep. I love them. I've had my Helix for 7 years now, something like that. It's terrific. An award-winning mattress brand. You can get yours right now by going to helixsleep.com/Knowles, 27% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/Knowles for 27% off site-wide. Make sure you enter my name at checkout so they know that we sent you. helixsleep.com/Knowles. Here we go. Because I'm on the road and I'm traveling all over and I'm not sleeping and I'm moving a mile a minute and the printers don't work, I have to use my iPad for today's show. Professor Jacob didn't get me my print. It's fine. It's fine. We'll talk about it later. But I kind of like having the iPad because I can just pull up the story. Here it is right here. New study finds, this is a really tricky show to do today because I got to clean it up to be a family show. There's kids that watch this show. So, okay, I'm going to clean it up with euphemisms. New study finds that stored swimmers deteriorate across the animal kingdom. So, let me tell you how I think it's The Guardian reporting this. Where is it? Yeah, The Guardian. More frequent releases may boost men's fertility, research suggests. Need for abstinence before fertility treatment questioned as study finds swimmers deteriorate as they stay in the body. You see what they're telling you to do. They're either telling you to get frisky with your wife more frequently, which is good advice if you're struggling with fertility. Or what they're saying is you should take matters into your own hands. That, you see what I'm saying? That's what the scientists, as it were, that the scientists and the media are telling you to do a humiliating, and I shouldn't laugh, a gross, gravely sinful and shameful activity for health. And they do this all the time. Don't they do this all the time? The darkest way they do this is they say that abortion is women's health. If you want to take care of your health as a woman, you should kill your kid because that's health. They tell you infertility processes, they'll tell you, well, you know what you really should do if your kid has a genetic problem or Down syndrome or something, you know, the treatment for that is to kill your kid. So they do all that, but then it goes further. They'll go out there and say, hey, you know what you need to do? You need to do this thing that Oxford and the media are telling you to do. Or do you remember when monkeypox was spreading in New York? You remember that one? So monkeypox was spreading, and Biden hires some satanic, like BDSM guy to run the monkeypox office of the White House. He may have had some expertise, but I would not be the guy I would pick to prevent monkeypox. And then they could have done one thing. They could have said like, hey guys, hey fellas, guys in, you know, San Francisco, New York, cut it out. Hey, you know what you could do? Just cut it out, or even mostly cut it out, and monkeypox would cease to exist in America. They could have done that in the 80s too, 80s and 90s with the AIDS epidemic. They could have just said like, hey guys, knock it off, and probably it's all going to be fine. But no, they have to come up with, no, actually, just you take these drugs because it's really important for you to, and they do this with transgenderism. It's very important for your health to lop off your healthy sexual organs and to pretend to be the opposite sex. It's really, but it's never true. I've come to the conclusion, I've lived long enough. If your grandma says one thing about health, whether it's about wearing socks in the house, whether it's about not putting too much ice in the water, I don't know, that's kind of an Italian thing. They don't use a lot of ice. Whether it's about, I don't know, whatever it is. Whether it's about not doing a certain activity that Oxford University wants you to because you'll go blind. Whatever, if it comes down to grandma versus an elite scientist or a mainstream journalist, grandma is always right. Grandma is 100% right. And grandma doesn't want you doing that thing that Oxford wants you to do. Have I made my point clear? On the trans issue, I'm speaking at CPAC today. I speak at CPAC every year, but this is 3 years since I gave what was otherwise a fairly moderate speech. I thought it was fairly well and I don't know, appropriately reasoned. But this line gets clipped out of it where I said that for the good of society and especially for the good of the poor people who've fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level. I said that, and then Rolling Stone and the Huffington Post and all these outlets accused me of genocide. It was really bizarre. I don't know. My whole argument was pretty simple. I said either transgenderism is true or it's not. If it's true, then it's true for everybody, for kids, for babies. You can change your sex. If it's not true, then it's not true for everybody because it's a claim about human nature. And so if it's not true, which obviously isn't, then we should get rid of it. It's just a crazy ideology. We should get rid of it. And this was I was so controversial. I was getting all sorts of threats and calumnies in the paper. And anyway, that was 2023, I guess. And I had done a speaking tour before that. That was my first campus speaking tour, Men Are Not Women and Other Uncomfortable Truths. But that was really the moment. And then Matt had his global blockbuster movie a year later, year and a half later, whenever it was. What is a Woman? Completely blew the lid off that issue. Then the Republican politicians started passing laws and now the Olympics has just banned trans athletes. And this is being reported by the Associated Press, which is super duper lib. You know they're not happy about it. But it's breaking story. Transgender women athletes banned. They still have to use the phrase transgender women, which is guys. Guy athletes banned from female Olympic events. By the new rule, that's what they have to do. Transgender women athletes are now excluded from women's events at the Olympics after the IOC agreed to a new eligibility policy on Thursday, which aligns with U.S. President Donald Trump's executive order on sports ahead of the LA Olympic Games. Okay, yeah, long time coming. They're trying to blame it on Trump. They're still trying to use these silly terms, the AP, one of the worst offenders, but that's how it goes. The reason I mention this story is not to just go out to the glue factory with a baseball bat and just beat the dead horse of transgenderism further until I personally turn it into Elmer's glue. The reason that I mention it is actually the opposite. Conservatives have been talking about this issue for a long time. Some were kind of squishy on it. Some were tougher from the beginning. Now everybody agrees. Now even the liberal politicians. Gavin Newsom, if you catch him in a candid moment, he knows the whole thing's totally nuts, and he obviously doesn't support it. That was a big flip, and it was fast. That's fast, man. That's a blink of an eye. I know it seems like the transgender wars were 1,000 years ago. It's fast. My CPAC speech that elicited death threats and claims of genocide, that was only 3 years ago. Matt's movie came out even more recently. It's been so fast. And then we won. And that should give you a little bit of a white pill. We actually can win stuff. This is one of the problems Trump and the Republicans are going to have in November. Is that he did fix a lot of stuff. He really did deport a lot of people. He really did fix crime in a lot of cities. He was just in Memphis talking about that. He really did fix inflation. And we'll see how inflation moves now with the Strait of Hormuz closed, but he really did fix inflation and the economy. The stock market really did hit record highs. He really did do all that stuff. He really did wind down a number of wars. And then people forget. You forget that 3 years ago, if you said, I don't think that fellas can be chicks, you were accused of genocide. That was fast, man. That's a win. I'll take that. Okay, but we haven't won everything yet because my hometown hockey team, the Nashville Predators, have gone gay, and worse, they've done it April, May, 3 months before the Pride Month. We'll get to that momentarily. First, I want to tell you about PragerU. Go to prageru.com/DW. The legacy media hold Americans like us in contempt. Coverage on any issue from immigration to crime accuses you, not the criminals, of being the ones really at fault. But our friends at PragerU will not stand for that kind of nonsense. They promote American values with content they like to call edutainment. That means they teach what matters most in new and creative ways through videos and more. If you ever thought of supporting PragerU, now really is the time to do it. Every dollar you give right now is triple matched for maximum impact. Time is running out. That match opportunity ends March 31st. Some of you may know I've worked with PragerU over the years, written a lot of their 5-minute videos, been in a lot of their 5-minute videos, hosted the book club at PragerU and continue to host it. So I love it. It's just a wonderful team. They do wonderful work, and they do a really, really great job for our country. So right now, give what you can. Head on over to prageru.com/DW. Support this important work before it is too late. That is prageru.com/DW. Very unfortunate. I go out of town for one night, and the Nashville hockey team goes gay. Preds fans, says Bridgestone Arena, put your paws up, Rainbow. We're celebrating Pride in Smashville tomorrow. It's like Smashville has a kind of funny image that it evokes when you think about like going to the bars and getting smashed and having some drinks. When they make it a weird sex thing, it's grosser. It's much, anyway, sorry. Rainbow, we're celebrating Pride in Smashville tomorrow night, March 26th, with appearances by Medium Build, The Cowgaze, Brady Riley, and more. Okay, I won't even get into the replies. It's March. First of all, this should never happen ever. There should be no pride parades. There should be no pride celebrations. If people want to do whatever stuff, it should be kind of out of public eye. We don't need the guys in leather whipping each other on the floats on Main Street. We don't need any of that. That should all be illegal. And frankly, our mores and standards should be such that it shouldn't even have to be illegal. You should be ostracized if you start bringing that stuff to Main Street. The crazy costumes and the obscene behavior. And we don't need that. We don't need the cowgays doing dances at the state. We don't need that, okay? I thought hockey was one of the few remaining heterosexual sports. But even that's even beside the point. Because if you're going to do it, aren't you supposed to do it in the month? June is supposed to be the month, according to the libs. On the Christian calendar, June is dedicated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. On the liberal liturgical calendar, it's dedicated to weird sex stuff. Okay, that's different religions. I guess we don't have an establishment of religion. But that's June. Why? It's March. And you know what's crazy? A lot of people don't know this. There's a second gay month in October. June is Gay Pride Month, or LGBT Pride Month. October is LGBT History Month. I guess to cover all the history of the time since they set up the month, which was only, 10 years ago or something? So now there's 2. And I said, and I hate to say I told you so on this point, I said, you think it's gonna stop there? No. It started with Pride Day. There used to be a Pride Day. And then when I was a teenager, I was in New York, a liberal state, it was Pride Week. It became a week and multiplied by 7-fold. Then Pride Month, then Pride 2 months, 6th of a year. Now we are officially at Pride Quarter because March is gay now too. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to try to gay up every single month, every single sport, including hockey. They still want to do that. Like we won on the transgenderism thing. We won. Support for same-sex marriage actually is decreasing. We won on some of the more traditional mores and social issues. Trump won the popular vote and the Republicans won unified government, but they're waiting. They're just waiting. They're waiting for you to despair or to get lazy or to give up or whatever. They're just waiting. They're salivating to get that power back. They're saying, and by they, I mean the libs. The libs, they're saying, Abigail Spanberger, she's the model in Virginia. We're going to run as moderates. We know woke is out. We know the weird gay stuff. They don't like it. I know, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to run as moderates. And then the minute we get power, we're going to implement the most radically left-wing agenda. And the conservatives, they're all going to just be divided up among themselves. They're going to be following a bunch of podcasters babbling and attacking each other over nothing, over nonsense. That's what they're going to do. They're going to be fighting Trump on issues that are broadly popular with the public. Ah, yes. And then, you know what? We'll come in. And then every month will be gay. Every month and every sport will be gay. Anyway, that's it. Don't say I didn't tell you so. Bookmark that. Now, let's turn away from things not worth celebrating toward things that are worth celebrating. The vice president, in the most recent White House cabinet meeting, pointing out that there is something that we are supposed to celebrate that's coming up. It's not whatever they did at Bridgestone Arena. It is Holy Week.
They're fighting at a time where we are about to enter as Christians the most important week of the Christian calendar, the Holy Week that celebrates the return of Jesus Christ to Jerusalem. And so I want to say to all of my fellow American Christians, but particularly those serving in the Gulf, that I wish you all a very blessed Easter, a very blessed Holy Week, and we continue to stand behind you and continue to support you every step of the way. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
So simple. So simple. Most people aren't going to notice that. The libs are going to be upset and they're going to whine about, I don't know, Christian nationalism or something. They're going to say, the vice president mentioned that it was Easter. Yeah, this is unacceptable. It's a threat to the separation of church and state. It's an establishment of religion. But it's so simple, and that's all you got to do. That's all I want. If we would just have our public officials, especially our really top-level officials, just come out and say, hey, guys, we're entering into Holy Week. This is a really important time. We do this for the liberal liturgical calendar all year long. We anticipate, we go to the vigil celebrations for the sacred feast of Martin Luther King or Earth Day or whatever. This is Holy Week. This is the most important time in the Christian calendar. We go over the top to pretend to know or care anything about the Muslim holidays. That's Ramadan, Eid Mubarak, Hussein Obama, or whatever they say. They go over the top to talk about it for this or that. Now, both political parties, are not exactly the most philo-Semitic. The Republicans are still generally pro-Jews. The Democrats totally hate the Jews. And then a small number of the right wing doesn't like the Jews. But even there, they'd say, hey, happy Passover, happy Hanukkah. But for whatever reason, the country the religion that animated the country and actually our whole civilization, that's the one you're not really allowed to talk about. And so I don't think we need to be over the top. I don't want, Doug Burgum walking into the cabinet meeting in a bunny suit. Though it would be fun if at the Easter egg roll, sometimes they have cabinet secretaries wear bunny suits. But I'm not saying that. You don't need to be over the top. Actually, it's more powerful when you work religion into your daily life. When it's just a little thing here or there. It's just a little prayer before meals. It's just crossing yourself. It's just maybe stopping in to receive sacrament, confession, or for a holy hour. It's just praying for a friend. I have a buddy who, whenever we hang up the phone or I see him, he's like, all right, man, God bless you. They just say it. He's a white guy, but he kind of black ladies do this too. And I really like when they do it. They say like, hey, how you doing? She'll be like, I'm blessed. You have a blessed day. That's great actually. That kind of thing is great. That's what we need more of. It doesn't have to be these over-the-top extravagant performances. Just people in our public life bringing religion into it. Just bringing it a little, because that's the only way you're going to revive religion as a culture. You have to see your leaders doing that. And you need to see them doing it consistently. Okay. Speaking of that cabinet meeting, there is one clip I really want to get to from it also. This is from the president and Doug Burgum, actually, coincidentally, where Burgum is updating the president on Venezuela. And here's where the president's focus went.
I literally think they're going to put up a statue to President Trump. And it's not a political statement. It's an actual thing.
So. That would be a great honor.
No, because it's like they view President Trump like that flows to American refineries on the Gulf Coast, lowering the price of gas in America. So
forget that. When are they going to do the statue? The hell with you.
Love him. I love even at the end there. He does that little boom. It's kind of like that Nicolas Cage movie. He just calls on the next reporter. But Burgum, he comes out. He says, they're cooperating in Venezuela. We took away their leader, and then we went to the vice president. We put a gun to her head, and we said, "Hey, you're going to cooperate with us, or we're going to kill you." That's actually what they said. They said it wasn't literally what they said, but that is what they said. They said, if the vice president, the new leader of Venezuela, does not cooperate, it will be worse for her than it was for Maduro. Well, Maduro was arrested and is now sitting in solitary confinement. The only thing worse is getting killed. And guess what? She's cooperating. And so now they say, yeah, they might have a statue to you there, Mr. President. And then I just love it. He just nails it with, after Burgum is updating on this very important point that oil is flowing from Venezuela. It's going to American refineries. This is correcting a long-standing wrong. It's good for Americans. It's good to bring down the price of gasoline, oil. And then Trump does the callback. He goes, yeah, that's great. But what about the statue? It's just delightful. And there is a purpose to these things. As I've said, there is a purpose to these things. I mentioned it at Memphis. It's the same reason that Antonin Scalia used words like applesauce in his legal dissents. It's to get eyes on it, get people listening. The media just don't get this. The libs just don't get this. Burgum says they're going to build a statue of you, Trump, in Venezuela. That's a wacky, crazy thing. And then Burgum gives this really important nugget of information that's politically very advantageous to Trump and undercuts the Democrats' narratives. And then what happens? Trump does the callback. He draws attention to that moment. And how does he do it? Does he say, he doesn't draw attention by saying, wow, that's really great. Maybe the cost of oil will decrease by a few cents and this and that. No, that's not going to get attention. He goes, yeah. Tell me more about that statue though, huh? So then, blasting clip, Trump, narcissist, egotist. He's so obsessed with himself. But guess what? Now we're all watching that clip about how we're getting Venezuela's oil. Something that Trump has wanted to do for ages. He's wanted to know he wanted us to know that he is doing that for ages. It's part of what he's trying to do in Iran, certainly to get the Strait of Hormuz open. And now we can see he does it. I have so much more to say. Big story. Meta, the Facebook parent company, and YouTube have just been found liable in a social media addiction case. LA jury found Zuckerberg and YouTube liable in a social media addiction case. And they awarded someone $3 million in damages. This is a woman who says that as a child, she got hooked on social media, on Instagram and on YouTube. And this worsened her mental health. It didn't give her mental health problems, but it worsened her mental health. And the jurors deliberated for more than 40 hours across 9 days, and they said, yeah, the social media companies are liable. I celebrate this verdict because these companies are too powerful, and they've done sketchy things, and they've harmed conservatives and the American right, and they need to be regulated. Even though I work with these companies, but sometimes these companies have tried to destroy our business, and anyway, it's a complicated relationship. I celebrate the verdict. That's great. I am a little skeptical of it. First of all, I don't really trust a random assortment of Los Angeles jurors, and this will certainly be appealed. But the problem is that the tech companies made their products too attractive. This is not something like a chemical dependency, like cigarette companies not putting warning labels on or something. This is just like the shows were too interesting, or so the colors were too nice. Anyway, I'm a little skeptical of this verdict. Regardless, though, it brings us back to the top of the show. I am much more inclined to live in a country that takes seriously the harms that are being done to its people, and the novel harms, and the way that actually technology and social changes, whether we're talking about social media or whether we're talking about a bunch of migrants flooding into a country, the way that those things are harming people from the time that they're young to the rest of their life. I much more would rather live in that country than in the country that ignores it, that worsens the problems, and that thinks that the best way to deal with it is actually just maybe to kill that person and harvest them for organs. I'll take it. Look, I'll take it, even if it comes from an LA court. Finally, we're about to get to my favorite time of the week. First, I want to tell you about Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles, Knowles. I've been working with Pure Talk for a long time, and I wanted to work with a wireless company that shares my values. Pure Talk is veteran-led, so helping veterans is extremely important to them. They've donated over $500,000 to America's Warrior Partnership, which is a fantastic organization on the front lines of preventing veteran suicide. And Pure Talk's creating American jobs with a U.S.-only workforce. Now, it would be a lot cheaper to send jobs overseas, like other companies do, but they are committed to delivering the best experience possible for their customers. And that's the thing about it. It's the best customer service for sure. It's the best price you're going to get. It's the best values alignment, certainly. And it's the best service. That's the key. You are getting the same networks, the same towers, the same 5G coverage as one of those big guys for a fraction of the price. I love them. It's great. I had them for years. Highly, highly recommend. puretalk.com/Knowles. Switch to Pure Talk today. puretalk.com/Knowles. Switch to my wireless company and America's wireless company, Pure Talk. The Passion of the Christ is now streaming on DailyWire Plus with Easter coming up in 9 days. This seems like the right time to talk about why this film matters. Matt Walsh, Isabel Brown, and I are sitting down for a real conversation about it, what it meant then, what it means now. A few of you are actually going to be in the room with us, not just watching, but sitting with us and being part of the conversation. If you join DailyWire Plus right now, you will be automatically entered. Join right now, and then I can see you. I can hang out with you during a viewing of The Passion of the Christ. If you're already a member, well, congratulations. You are entered. I look forward to seeing you at the event. Details are at dailywire.com/passion. My favorite comment yesterday is from PTSBC941, who says, when I die, this is about the human body composting story. That there's in Oklahoma, they're debating whether or not to allow human bodies to be composted. And this person says, when I die, grow me into a pecan tree so y'all can eat I'm not going to finish the sentence. You can use your imagination. Our mailbag is sponsored by Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles, Knowles, to switch to my wireless company today. First question.
Greetings, Michael. How would you explain generational wealth to a prospective lady? I live in a house built by my father who passed in 2004. Due to him passing, I hold my mother and her opinions in high regard and have promised that she will die in this house rather than in a hospital bed like my father. I will never put her in a home, as I recently quit working one to work in construction. My siblings have all left and are going to probably let the house fall to ruin if they were the caretaker. I don't just live in my mother's basement. This will be my basement. This is my house. I take care of it. I'm finishing building it. I take care of the landscaping. I cook. I clean. This is my home. I would like to share it with somebody, but thus far they can't seem to get over the fact that I live in my mother's basement. Up until about 80 years ago, we had 3 and maybe up to 4 generations in a household, but because I'm 30 years old and live in my mother's basement, there's a huge issue when it comes to that. What is your opinion?
One, I love that you spoke very quickly to fit all of that into 1 minute. That is great. You are obviously a diligent, responsible man, so I appreciate that. That clearly comes out in all the way. You cook, you clean, you work, you build the house, and you respect the rules of the mailbag, which is under a minute. That's good. You're in a tough position, and I sympathize with you because I love tradition and I like old-timey stuff, and I think it's very good if you can take care of aging parents. I think it's nice to. I don't like change. I don't like moving. I don't like new stuff. I like old stuff, and I like tradition, and I like staying where I am. I like all those things. But the key here is you said 80 years ago. 80 years ago, it would be normal to have 4 generations in a house. So why don't women get that? Because that was 80 years ago. And because we live in the time that we live in. I'm as old-timey as they get, but we live in the time that we live in. You mentioned you have other siblings. So when you talk about generational wealth or inheriting the house, I don't know if you have to sort this out, but do your siblings have a claim to the house? You say this is your house. Will they not be entitled to some of the estate? Are you going to buy them out of the house? It's unclear to me from just what you've described if you would even get the house. Not to be morbid about it, but it's a little unclear how old your mother is. If your mother is 102 and you say, I'm living with my mother and I'm not going to let her die in a hospital bed, so I'm taking care of her for right now, and some lady's got to figure that out. That's one thing. But if your mother is 50 and she's going to live with you for 60 years or something, I don't know, but they might cure most forms of aging by the time you get there. Your mother lived to 200. But at the very least, I don't know, you can get on 75, 85. I think it's reasonable for a woman to say, well, I don't want to live with my mother-in-law for 50 years. And you say, well, but I like the idea of multi-generational living. That's great, but I'm not surprised that a woman would disagree. Would you want to live with your mother-in-law? I don't think so. So I'm not one for clean, neat, pat, ideological answers. I'm a prudence guy. I like making deals. I like making things work. On these kinds of matters, not on moral matters, but on practical matters, everything's a negotiation. But I think it would be good if you can figure out a way to maintain the house for your mother, maybe inherit it yourself or split it with your siblings or however that's going to work, but not let that impede you having a family. And if you can't find a wife in your present situation, you're going to have to figure out a new situation. And one way that people live generationally is by inviting their parents to move in with them when they become too old to live on their own. It's not always just, staying in the same house that grandpa built. It'd be good if you can keep it. I hate all change and I never want to move. I'm with you. But if the good of a family is more important than your desire for these artifacts of your tradition. Okay, next question.
Hey Michael, love the show. I had a question pertaining to alcohol. I've been with my girlfriend for almost 5 years and we are high school sweethearts. She's a big Christian, but ever since she went to college, she has a drink or two whenever she'll hang out with friends or is at a school function, which seems to be an everyday occurrence. I personally hate alcohol. However, I don't really care if others drink. In this instance, though, it feels like she has lost the innocence she used to have, and I don't want my kids growing up around alcohol because of my experience of secondhand family members and the role that it plays in their life. I need some wisdom because I don't mind if she drinks when I'm there to monitor her as a man, but I don't want alcohol being the reasoning behind bad decisions being made. Thanks for everything.
Well, that's the key, isn't it? It's a good question, and I think a lot of men who have ever had a high school girlfriend can sympathize with you. Which is, you say, hold on, ever since you went to college, things are different. And so you're focusing on the alcohol, but it's not really the alcohol, right? Because you say, what do you say? She has a drink or two. A drink or two is not going to do very much. You say, well, hold on, I don't mind if she has a drink or two when I'm there. but I don't want her making any bad decisions. I don't, alcohol is a little bit of a social lubricant. I don't want her socializing with any fellas over there. So that's really what the issue is about. It doesn't seem to me that there's any evidence of problem drinking, right? I don't know, who knows, maybe that could develop and you could have a conversation with her. But really, I think the issue is you don't like that she is at school in these situations where you are not. And so you're trying to reduce any way in which, things could get out of your control. So you're trying to tighten that grip, but I don't think it's going to work. One, it's not, the argument you're making about alcohol isn't persuasive. She's not waking up and having a glass of vodka and, waking up passed out in a gutter or something like that. She's having a drink over dinner or something. But two, the issue is deeper. That's what you have to sort out. You can make it about alcohol or your family's experience with alcohol or whatever, but that's only papering over the issue. And I don't think you'll persuade her anyway. I think you got to get to the real issue. I want to get to more, but Professor Jacob tells me I can't. I got to go. I got to go to CPAC. Okay, well, if you're at CPAC, maybe I'll see you there. It's in Texas this year. It's not in D.C. That's kind of weird. But if you're down there, I'll catch you there. Otherwise, I'm Michael Knowles. This is the Michael Knowles Show. There's no membrum segmentum today. The membrum segmentum will be from the stage of CPAC, and I will see you on Monday.